Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score, your holiday edition, your pre-bowl game edition. The last time we're going to talk to you until Missouri takes the field against Iowa on December 30th. It is December 23rd. We've got a couple days until Christmas. Obviously, there's a ton of winter holidays happening. Celebrate as you see fit, and Mizzou's going to provide news updates that we are going to cover today, as well as preparing for the bowl game. Nathan Hurst, you're looking festive in your flannel. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Just got done taking the kids to the wonderful and famous Columbia Mall carousel for our annual Christmas tradition of riding the carousel with the Christmas lights around. That was lots of fun. Getting ready for the holidays and ready for bowl game season, bowl game mania.
That's right. And bowl season is in full swing. There's games on because, again, got to talk to your family about something. And a bowl game isn't a great way to distract you from everything that you disagree with. So take your pick. Watch Northern Illinois and Fresno State this afternoon while I was closing out work. That was fun, I think. Potato bowl, get fries dumped on you. Have the coach say that was the best dump of my life. I mean, just it's fun. It's fun and silly.
Mascots that look like parts of the male anatomy. It's great.
Great. Given all the negativity that we had about the playoff this weekend, it was nice to see something that was kind of innocent and fun. And we'll maybe touch on that later.
The refreshing potato bowl, the refreshing Pop-Tart bowl. Beautiful. Bring back bowl. Just bring back. Let's get rid of the playoff. Let's just go back to bowls. Nothing but mascots, mascot-driven bowls. That's what I'm here for.
Boy, we got some hot takes that are not Missouri.
I don't think the Music City Bowl, unfortunately, has a fun mascot.
Probably not.
We should have refused the bid just on those terms, unless they brought in like some kind of walking guitar that just like would play killer riffs every time that.
Don't rule it out. And hey, Music City Bowl, we are up for any suggestions that you want. We are happy to advise. We are cheap. We will do it. Let's talk about Mizzou. Let's talk about the off-field stuff first, and let's talk about the crummy off-field stuff first. If we even call the transfer portal off-field, Corning Crutchfield, bye. Nice knowing you. 6 months on campus. He is gone. He's a 4-star receiver from Arkansas, and he has chosen to hit the portal and take his talents elsewhere. I wish, it is nice that I'm getting less sensitized to and desensitized to these sorts of announcements where young guys out of nowhere no longer want to be on the team that I follow and cover. But it's an odd one. And Eli Drinkwitz took to the beat reporters and talked about how it's crisis in college football. He devoted his 30 years of his life to the sport, and it's breaking and it needs help. And don't even have to read the tea leaves. He's upset about this sort of thing where 18-year-old kids give it 6 months and then decide to go somewhere else. So, Corning Crutchfield, we hardly knew ye. Nathan Hurst, how are you feeling about this one?
It's a bummer. I mean, he's a talented kid. We were really excited to get him last December when he announced that he was coming here and not going to Arkansas or wherever else he had offers. With his departure, that's kind of the top, 4 or 5 guys from last year's class. Mm-hmm. All of whom that we were very excited about that have decided to move on. I think it's just that's just how it is these days. It's less personal than it is business, and it sucks to call this a business in this capacity. We have yet to do that up until these last few years, but this has really turned into a business, and he made a business decision. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have taken it personally. This guy doesn't want to be a part of my team. What is he doing? Who does he think he is? Good luck. Get out of here. Whatever. We didn't want you anyway. That's just not, that's just not how it is anymore. These moves aren't personal. They aren't personal for the player in terms of why they decided to leave. It's not personal to the program that they're doing anything right or wrong necessarily. It's just the way things are now. These guys that come in that are talented, and this is nothing specific to Crutchfield, but it seems to be the lay of the land these days. You come for a year, then you want to renegotiate your NIL package. You want to bring that back up. And Eli Drinkwitz has made it very clear this year, especially, that unless you're seeing the field, he's not interested in upping your NIL package. He's not going to pay for somebody that hasn't produced on the field, especially for anyone or for us specifically. So if you come in, can't find a spot on the field your first year, he's just not super interested in finding a way to get you more money, to keep you here, and he's more than willing to let you walk. Good luck to you. Peace be with you. We'll find somebody else to come in and take your place. So that's just how it is these days. Will it always be that way? We don't know. There could all it's ever changing. If there's more legislation or any legislation that comes down, that could change things. Revenue sharing here in a year or two, that might change things in some way. That's the way it is now, though, and so it's not worth losing sleep over. It's just kind of got to roll with the punches and be flexible and find a way to find production elsewhere.
Yeah, you're not going to get them to sign a contract because that makes them employees, and that's the last thing that the NCAA wants. So employees are liabilities, and you are liable as the school if they get injured, if anything happens to them in their capacity as an employee. Schools don't want that. NCAA doesn't want that. So yeah, it's not going to happen. And because it's not going to happen, you're going to have to play this game every off season. So this is where we're at. And until you get some Zard comes in and wrestles, all the cats together, known as college presidents, and gets the NCAA in line, this is how it's going to be. So yeah, he's, we saw him on the field, handful of snaps. I think the only time we really saw him was the first game against Murray State. The same time we saw James Madison. Kind of that Murray State Buffalo corridor right there is when you really started seeing him. And it really wasn't much, and he didn't get any targets, and that was it. So, if he wants to go chase the money somewhere else and try to see the field there, like you said, power to him. I was thinking, when you are a blue chip like that, we had a run there where like they entered the portal and like not even a day later they were gone. I was wondering if he was going to be one of those guys, and apparently not. So he truly did, take the risk of hitting the open market. But we'll see where he goes. But again, portal goes both ways. And if you lose somebody, you got to get somebody to replace them. And the idea is to get more out of the portal than what you lose. And man, since Quinn and I actually had the show last Tuesday, we've had quite a bit come in. I know he and I talked about Lane and Kitchen last week. That was kind of the last one we got. So since then, we have seen an influx of Missouri or players coming to Missouri. The one I kind of came out of nowhere, I'm very excited about Ahmad Hardy. He is a Louisiana Monroe transfer, freshman who ran for 1,300 yards at Louisiana Monroe, famously one of the worst programs in the history of the world. Unranked freshman coming in and doing that out of some place called Monticello, Mississippi. I mean, Hurst, I don't want to put too many Heismans in this guy's pocket, but boy, if you want to thrive as a running back, this is a great place to do it. And he's a freshman. Like, I'm very excited about this one. What are your thoughts?
I think I'm the most excited about Hardy of any of the transfers that have come in, and that includes even the quarterback transfer that we'll talk about a little bit later here. Dude is a stud. If you watch his tape, I mean, the guy has incredible vision. He's amazing at finding holes in Eli Drinkwitz's zone running scheme. That's what you're looking for. More than speed, more than the ability to break a tackle. You're looking for a guy who can find the hole, be patient enough for it to open up, and then boom, hit it and be through it. And this guy can do that. And then once he does do that, then he's off. He's got the speed. He's got the speed of a Nate Noel. And then the vision of a Cody Schrader. So he's kind of the best of both worlds there. He maybe not as much as a broken tackle machine as perhaps Cody Schrader does, but he certainly has more speed than Schrader ever did, and what looks like very similar field vision in his young career. You mentioned him coming from UL Monroe, famously horrible. So you can look at his production and say 1,300 yards. Yeah, that was in the Sun Belt. Whatever. That's in the Sun Belt for a team that's horrible, or at least historically horrible. They had a little bit of a renaissance this year. They were much better than they had been in the last decades. And a big part of that was Hardy. So he's running behind an offensive line that is never good. And he's still putting up 1,300 yards in a Sun Belt conference that is one of the better G5 conferences. This isn't the Conference USA. This isn't well, yeah, the Conference
It's the
USA, which is
Conference USA.
terrible.
Yep.
This is a pretty good G5 league. Very little talent around him, and he still found a way as a freshman to put up massive numbers, which is really exciting. Put him behind a real competitive offensive line, which Mizzou has seemed pretty uh, able to produce year in and year out. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about how that looks this next year a little bit later. But we've put together pretty good offensive lines. Put him behind that. Put him in Eli Drinkwitz's zone running scheme, Kirby Moore's zone running scheme. I think this guy could really flourish for 2 years, 3 years.
Two? Yeah.
He's got at least 2, if not 3 more years of eligibility left. So very exciting for sure.
Yeah. I mean, 5.7 per rush, over 1,300 yards, 237 carries. That's insane. He had a 41% success rate when he was carrying the ball. Only 13% of his rushes went for 0 or negative yards, which is really, really good. Not the most explosive guy. Only 14% of his rushes went for 10 plus. But the thing that I like the most, and to your point about the offensive line, he barely averaged 2 yards before contact and then averaged 4 yards after contact. Like that's what you need. That's one of the reasons why he was so good. And not only that, he averaged 0.3 missed tackles per rush, which is one of the best in the nation. This is a guy that you want. He only goes targeted in the pass game 10 times. I don't care about that. We have receivers and tight ends for that. We have other running backs for that, like Jamal Roberts. This is a guy 5'10, 205. I don't know why he was unranked by Rifles. I don't know why he was so under the radar. I don't know why he ended up at ULM, but he is with Mizzou now. And I mean, history will tell you that transfer running backs do better in their second year. But wow, I'm very excited for this guy. If he can do that, like you said, behind a terrible offensive line in the Sun Belt, I'm excited to see him. And I think
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. He's not. You mentioned his kind of break tackle numbers. He's not necessarily a run you over type of guy, but he's very slippery. I mean, you get your hands on him, but it's very hard to bring him down. So he's not going to just bulldoze you over. He's not a Derrick Henry type of runner, but he's very hard to tackle. And kind of taking us back to the discussion about NIL money and the amount of what Drinkwitz is willing to invest and how he's willing to invest that money. You lose a Kewan Lacey in the portal, who did manage to make get on the field, and had he chosen to stay, very exciting young player. We replace him with someone who has infinitely more production in their same freshman years. So that's just a case in point in how Drinkwitz has said himself how he's going to kind of build his roster is with guys that have proven it on the field, and this guy has more than done that in just 1 year. So the sky's the limit for what this guy can do if he stays healthy. If the offensive line at Mizzou continues to be a stronger point, one of the stronger units on the team as it has been, there's a lot that they can do with this guy. Kind of pair him up with the Jamal Roberts, who will see more playing time next year than he did last year. But I could see them falling into the Roberts into the Carroll role, and Hardy into more of the Noel role, and if not splitting it, carries 50-50, 60-40, something like that. And I think you're looking at a really powerful running back tandem.
Yeah. And that's what you're looking for. And that's even skipping over like Tavares Jones, who's currently still on the team. Austin Dendy, who took a redshirt year. Marquise Davis or Brendan Haygood, who will be freshmen, but they're coming in too. So I don't know. As long as Curtis Looper is the running backs coach, I'm really not super worried about the running backs. But I feel a lot better now that we got this kid because he's great. And kudos to Mizzou's scouting department. Their personnel management team. The amount of work that you have to do in a season to like have somebody on have targets on Rolodex ready to go in the case you lose somebody. The amount of external scouting that you do with essentially no thanks or recognition, because sometimes you spend weeks scouting a guy and you don't even need to go after him. Like the tip of the cap. This is quite the find.
Yeah, for every Ahmad Hardy, there are probably 15 other running backs that never even went into the portal in the first place that they could try to get.
Yep.
But they had to put equal amount of time into just, as our, in case of, break glass in case of emergency, sort of reach out to. And so they were on him. Mizzou was not the only Power Four team that wanted him, but they got him, and so that's really exciting.
Yeah. After Ahmad Hardy committed to Mizzou, I was followed up with a safety from Virginia Tech. His name is Mose Phillips III. I like this kid a lot, Nathan Hurst. I don't know how much you have seen of him, but he is allegedly 6'2", 193. He played 702 snaps last year. Now, Virginia Tech's defense was on the field a lot more than Missouri's offense was. But this is a guy who logged 63 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack, 6 run stuffs, 2 passes broken up, an interception, and a forced fumble. This guy is like Dalen Carnell light, and I don't know where they want to line him up. But again, it's another guy with proven production, at least 2 years, 25, 26, barring injury. That's all he would play. And an experienced, power 4, not power 2, but power 4 player with eligibility and production. I was impressed. I know it's another one of those names that you don't really recognize, so it doesn't feel like a splash get. But from production, man, like production experience, this guy's got it.
Yeah, he's got experience. He plays a lot like Dalen Carnell, like you mentioned. I could see him being a rotational piece this year, assuming Carnell comes back. If Carnell chooses to go to the NFL, I haven't heard anything that would be the case, but he still has time to make that decision. Then he could easily slot into that starting spot. If not, he'll get on the field for sure. Sidney Williams, kind of that sort of a role. He'll be on the field one way or another. He brings experience that the secondary is greatly lacking, at least in the safety department. Well, really across the board. He's not going to play, free safety, but he will play in the box. He can kind of make tackles. He's not going to be a big pass defender in terms of down the field, just like Dalen Carnell, and he isn't used that way, nor should he be. So yeah, and rotational piece this year. Carnell, if he does come back, will only have one more year, no matter what. So at that point, then Phillips would step in as the shoe-in starter. His last year, his dad, I don't know if you knew this, his dad is an SEC alum, played at Tennessee for 4 years back in the 90s. Mose the second. So we get Mose the third, which is just outstanding name, by the way. Just Mose Phillips the third is the best safety football name of all time. So I'm excited for him for no other reason than that.
Major Burns is a pretty good safety name too.
Yeah, that's good.
But Mose, is that short for Moses?
I think Moses is a name. It's just Mose.
Mose. All right. Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people went to the Office memes with the name reveal, which that's fine. It'd be very funny to imagine him as Amish. That's a very funny visual for me. But those 3.
Yeah, we need a more Amish SEC football players.
Oh my God, he's MP3.
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 Oh, nice.
Do kids still know what that is? What an MP3? Oh, you know what? Whatever. Doesn't matter. He'll be MP3 to me. So Mose came in, and then we got followed up with 2 offensive line commits. I'm going to screw up this guy's last name because it is New Jersey as hell. But I think it's Dominic Giudice.
It's either that or Gadici. One of those two.
Yeah.
I don't quote me because I certainly don't know. We'll find out eventually.
From the Michael Maietti tribe of offensive linemen, we get Dominic Giudice. Sorry, man, we'll figure it out. And then an easier one to pronounce, Keegan Trost, who comes to us from Wake Forest via a couple other schools. And so these are offensive line additions. Now, these are guys who have 1 year left to play. This is not some kind of long-term build. Dominic was at Michigan. Like I said, Keegan was at Wake Forest for only a year. So, this is either a plug and play or a rotational addition. And they didn't really see a ton of snaps when they were at their respective schools. When you look at Dominic, he was more of a 6th offensive lineman. He played a little bit of center. He played a little bit of guard. Managed 309 snaps over this past year. With Keegan Trost, at Morgan State, he didn't play all that much, which was his first school at Indiana State. He really started ramping up as he got older. And then finally at Wake Forest, that's when he broke through 11 starts in 12 games, 766 snaps this past year. So Keegan is built like a tackle, has played right tackle. Dominic is built like an interior lineman, has played interior lineman. Starters, depth pieces. How do we feel about these guys?
These guys are going to come in. They're going to compete for a starting job. Are they both going to win starting jobs? I'm not sure. I'd be surprised, honestly, if they both won starting jobs. But they're going to build up the depth, build back up the depth of the offensive line in some way. I think Dominic, we'll just call him Dominic, Big Dom for now, from Michigan. He might be kind of a emergency safety valve if the center, and I'm just completely
Connor Tollison.
Yes, sorry. If Tollison takes a little bit longer to recover from his knee injury than they're hoping, hopefully he is able to get back by August and start playing again. But Dominic has experience as a center, as a guard, interior lineman. Started the first 4 games of the year for Michigan actually this year. And before I think kind of got replaced. I'm not sure if that's because someone else was playing better or he was not playing well for Michigan. But that I think he's kind of a if we have to start the season with him, if Tolson's not ready to go, we've got somebody we can put out there that we know has at least played a little bit at this level. Trost, yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one of the two that most likely to see the field, might be Trost at the right tackle spot. Just because there is a really big hole there now. There are 3 spots to fill with Mimbu leaving and kind of surprising us a little bit and deciding to go to the NFL. So they're gonna compete. They're gonna compete, and that's good. I would be surprised if there isn't at least one of the kind of internal hires, if you will, if the guy is coming up. If at least one of those guys don't win one of those jobs, they're not going to bring in 3 portal guys that are all 3 going to start. We have Javen Richardson too, JUCO guy from last year that, competed by all accounts, was competing for that left tackle spot before Marcus Bryant won it. So I think you got to factor him in as a real chance to win one of the tackle spots as well. We'll see. That's going to be one of the things one of the positions that's going to really have to pay a lot of attention to in the spring, in August as well, because there's a lot of spots to fill in that area.
There is. I mean, you lose your left tackle in Marcus Bryant. You lose your backup center in Drake Heismeyer. You lose your right guard in Cameron Johnson, and you lose your right tackle in Armand Mimbu, and your 6th guy, your swing guy, Mitchell Walters. So your like you said, your internal promotions, your backups from this year, Javen Richardson, like you mentioned, Logan Reichert was the backup left guard. We saw him for 56 snaps. You do have Tristan Wilson, who had 49 snaps at center this year. He will be a 4th-year junior. You had Curtis Piegler, 26 snaps at right guard. He is a massive human being. He'll also be a 4th-year junior. And then you had Caleb Pyfrom, who will be a 2nd-year freshman out of Omaha, Nebraska. Any of those guys are ready to go, sure, slot them in, that's fine. But behind that, again, it's a bunch of young guys: Brandon Solis, Ryan Jost, Taylon Chandler. You'll have Keaton Jones coming in. You'll have Henry Fanuku coming in and Jack Lane, but you cannot look at freshmen to fill these gaps. So that's why you get these experienced 1-year bridge players to kind of stymie the depth chart and provide some kind of experience. So you're not dipping too far into your depth to get young guys on the field. I'm with you. I don't think both will start. I think if you do, well, I mean, it could be good or bad. They might surprise us, but it's certainly not somebody that you are looking to, like in Ahmad Hardy or the transfer portal quarterback, where you're like, well, we expect you to start in and do great, because that's not the caliber of offensive linemen who are in the portal right now. That pressure is not going to be on them. Like you said, Eli Drinkwitz talks about competition all the time. We're here to compete, add competition. Beautiful. Buongiorno. We're good. Then after that, we got somebody on the other side of the line. Nate Johnson, App State. We know App State around here. Eli Drinkwitz knows App State. Nate Johnson was formerly at App State. He transfers in. He's a defensive end. Again, surprise, you needed defensive ends. And looking at this guy, yeah, theme of the night. Mizzou got a productive young guy. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, he had 7.5 sacks his freshman year, which was outstanding. I think he was a freshman All-American, as a matter of fact. This past year as a sophomore wasn't quite as productive. I think he only had 2.5 sacks. I'm not sure if that's because defenses started focusing in on him, doubling him as big threat that App State had. Really hard to, without really diving into it too deep so far. Don't really know that yet, but he's proven that he can get pressure on the passer. He's not going to have to come in and be a starter and be expected to rack up 7 or 8 sacks this year. He's just going to have to be one of 4 guys that are rotating in there, and I think he can definitely do that. I mean, he can replace, certainly replace a Winery and Jalen Brown, if nothing else. The limited production we got from those 2 guys. He did that this past year on his down year. So I think he will come in. He will play. He probably won't start, but he will get a good amount of playing time along with Zion Young and Eddie Kelly and Darius Smith. So nice 4-man rotation there. We'll see if if a freshman Javion Hilson wants to compete for some snaps as well. But I'm feeling pretty all right about the edge play coming into next year with Johnson's addition for sure.
Certainly have options. I know Quentin and I talked about Landon Kitchen last week. He's 6'7", 270. Like at that size, you can find something to do. Nate Johnson's 6'5", 240. Right? That's a big boy too. That's only 25 pounds lighter than Zion Young. That's barely 10 pounds lighter than Johnny Walker. So he is younger, but he's got the size. And yeah, he didn't have the production that you would like, but he also had 200 fewer snaps. Again, if that was being siphoned off by somebody else or just, a larger rotation or his performance, we don't know. But, 40 tackles 1 year, 34 the next, 7.5 sacks, 2.5 sacks, whatever. Well, we needed experience and we needed some youth. And we got both with this guy, and he can grow with the D-line zoo. By the way, Gaffney, South Carolina. This is not the first time Mizzou has played in Gaffney, South Carolina for recruits. Do you know the other one?
No.
I'll give you a hint. He just left the team.
Oh, was that
what? Okay.
Who? What?
Brayshawn Littlejohn.
Oh, he's also from Gaffney. I guess we've got to have somebody from Gaffney on the team at all times.
It's the rule. It's the new rule. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're going to do.
It seems like a positive trade in Mizzou's favor at this point, just based on production. So
production. Then you get a punter. And Eli Drinkwitz loves many things. The thing he loves maybe the most is punter battles. And currently, once Luke Bauer graduates, they're not going to have any punters on the roster. And so he fixed it by bringing in a Stanford transfer. Going from Stanford to Missouri. I don't know how big of a culture swing that is. Not the biggest one, but it is a noticeable one. And Connor is going to be a 1 year. Again, he's going to be a bridge punter. He's got 1 year to play. It's just
bridge punters.
Yeah, you got to get somebody in there. So this will be his last year. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. He went all the way to Stanford. Now he's at Mizzou. So this is a guy who really was not renowned for his punting, believe it or not. He is a holder. That's been the job that he's done for most of his college football career, which is very important. It's not punting. He had 1 year where he was actively punting. That was 2023. So at this point, 2 years ago, he had 22 punts, averaged 42.2 yards as a comparison. Luke Bowers at 41.9, 41.5. But he had 32% of his punts returned, which gave him a net yardage of 35, which isn't super great. Again, Luke Bauer is more like in the 40 range, and we all thought that was bad. So, Nathan Hurst, we had a punter who hasn't punted in 2 years and holds the ball well. How do we feel?
I mean, as long as he can not get it blocked and not get it returned for touchdowns, you want good punters. Good punters are really good to have, but it's, just kick the ball far. That's where I am right now.
I mean, it's a cornerstone to the Eli Drinkwitz method of winning football games is winning the field position game. And you got to have some kind of competence there. Yeah. I don't know if this was because Stanford's return team stunk or, their field coverage team stunk. That's also always an option. Troy Taylor's rebuild of Stanford's going a little rocky. Yeah. So I'm not going to rule that out. Obviously, the actual yardage is comparable to what Luke did. Maybe having Eric Link's coverage team to pair with his leg will help something. Just talking myself into this at this point. Frankly, we're not going to figure it out until we get to fall camp. We're really not going to figure it out until we see it in the game. So it's one of those. We'll see. But he's only here for a year.
I'm going to worry about. I'm going to wait to worry about the Mizzou punting game until there's something to actually worry about. So, well, welcome, Connor. Kick the ball far. Well, kick the ball far. That's all. That's your one job.
You know what helps having questions at punter? Never punting.
Yeah, there you go.
Just score. Just score every time. And then Connor can have a nice education and enjoy the Columbia, Missouri air, and get his degree. So, okay, we've danced around it for long enough. Obviously, the big addition since we have last spoken with you is we got the quarterback. The quarterback that Missouri needed to get out of the portal has signed. It's official. Bo Pribula out of Penn State. Yeah, playoff Penn State. He is going to be Missouri quarterback next year. Now, is he going to be the guy? I don't know, but kind of all signs point to he's going to get the first and second crack at doing this. And he'll be going up against Drew Pine, who was here for a year and will be entering his second year. And then the injured Sam Horn, who has been here for 4 years at this point. And has never really taken meaningful snaps outside of a couple of years ago. So, what do you know about Bo?
There's not a ton to know because he hasn't played a whole lot, but he has played. We know less about Bo than we knew about Drew Pine this time last year when he came on board, having started several games. Bo Pribula has not started any games, but he has played a decent amount this year as backup under Drew Aller. Actually played pretty valiantly in a win at Wisconsin this year. That's kind of that was his one big stretch of playing time when Aller went down with a relatively minor injury, but he wasn't able to return that game. And it was, I think Penn State had a 1-point lead at the time in the second, and he played the whole second half, held on. I think he took him on a couple scoring drives in a pretty tough place to play, won the game, which is great. You look at his game and it's he looks a lot like Brady Cook. I think he's a better runner than Brady Cook is. At least a better designed runner. As far as scrambling, Brady Cook might be a little better of a scrambler and kind of on broken plays, but designed runner, Bo likes to run, and he is not scared to run you over, which can be good or bad, depending on if he's willing to put himself in harm's way. But he runs well. He's fast. He breaks tackles. He seems to be pretty accurate when he does throw the ball. They didn't really ask him to throw the ball a whole lot because most of the time when he came in, Penn State was winning and he was just in mop-up duty. But by all accounts, he looks to be a pretty talented guy. And if he, as you said, he's going to get the first crack at the job. Will he win it? We don't know yet. Probably. We have to believe that there will be an earnest and a good faith competition there between Horn and Pine and Matt Zollers coming in as well. But it'll most likely be him to start the season at least. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad they got somebody. They needed to get somebody. They couldn't have come in with who they already had on the roster and feel good about it. So Mizzou was not the only Power 4 team after this guy. I mean, he visited Ole Miss right before he committed. He visited Iowa. I think he had at least one other visit that other than Iowa, UCF as well. So folks wanted him. Mizzou got him. But I'm excited to see what he can do. Don't really know what that's going to be yet, but I'm very excited and interested to see what he turns into.
Yeah, he's just he can be anything. He can even be Brady Cook, and we like that. There's just not really a lot to go off of. I mean, I did the math. So he's dropped back for a pass 58 times and he's run the ball 92 times. So again, my state education tells me that's 150 snaps. He's entering his fourth year, right? Drew Pine and Brady Cook hit snap 150 against K-State in 2022. Drew Pine hit that also in 2022 when he was starting at Notre Dame. And we got a guy who's entering year 4 and that's all he's got. but again, he was behind. It's not his fault that he was cursed to move in to State College at the same time that Drew Aller was. Like that's just how it worked. Um, it seems that coaches really like him. It seemed like the Penn State fan base really liked him. The fact that coaches all over were trying to get him on campus, like that. I think people see good things here. We just haven't seen it on the field. So I went back and I read, kind of like scouting report from when he was coming out of Central York High School. And I mean, this might just be scout parlance that they all kind of sound the same, but you put up his comparison next to Matt Zoller's, and it's almost like the exact same, right? Flipped on like the base skill set. Because like Matt Zollers is a guy who throws it a lot and runs really well, and they're like, oh yeah, Bo Brilliant. I mean, he's a great runner, and he's got a cannon of an arm. So like, there's a lot of, they talked about accuracy. They talked about his ability to hit the hole, be decisive, control of the huddle, like just winging around. Like there's a lot of similarities to Zollers and Pribula, and they're both from Pennsylvania. So I mean, what are we doing here? It's just, again, we haven't seen it, and we're entering year 4. So, when Pribula was out there, he ran it a lot, like you said. He was not accurate his first year. I mean, that was a 52% completion rate and a 37% success rate in his, that was his redshirt freshman year. It was not good. Now, last year, his redshirt sophomore year was good. That's where you get the 74% completion rate. That's where you get the 57% success rate. Like, it was much better. So I don't know which one it's going to be, but an Andy Koltanecki offense, which is what he was in this year, is really quarterback friendly because it's funky to guard against, it's funky to read, it's hard for defenses to pick up, and he really thrived in that. So Mizzou doesn't really do that. It's very traditional in kind of how it approaches attacking the defense. I'm really curious what he's going to be able to do. Here's my other question, Nathan Hurst. You're losing some prolific wide receivers. We haven't really added anything proven to that group. And now you've got 2 running backs who seem very impressive, a running quarterback. I'm not saying that this would be a huge shift, but is this an opportunity to switch how Mizzou runs its offense based off of the fact that we had this guy for 2 years?
I mean, they already, Jinquist has already been a running offense, a running oriented offense. So, I mean, is it spread? Yes. I mean, do they throw the ball? Yes, but it's run the ball first, run the ball second, run the ball third, and then sometimes throw the ball to your first round draft pick wide receiver, who they may not have. They won't have one this year. But that's already kind of how they're focused. Now, are they going to change up some of the plays, run a little bit more option, a little bit more quarterback centric running? I think there's an opportunity to do that. We saw them try to do it a little bit this year with Brady Cook. It didn't work very well at all. And I don't know if that was Cook himself, the offensive line, the timing of the play calls, the design. I don't know. But they wanted to do more. I think they wanted to do more of that than they ended up doing, just because it was so unsuccessful for most of the year. So I can see them, in terms of their run pass splits, going even more towards the run, with the talented incoming offense or running back, Prabula being a runner as well. But it also might, the fact his running threat might actually open up more passing. I mean, it might open up more use of Brett Norfleet. I know we've been screaming for more tight end usage in the passing game since Drinkwitz started here. I don't know if that will ever happen, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen with a really good running quarterback, because that makes it very difficult for linebackers. It puts them in a bind as who they're going to cover. They're going to cover the running back. They're going to cover the tight end, who can leak out for passes. So it opens up a lot more opportunities to keep a defense off balance.
Yeah.
Will they do that? Is that how it's going to turn out? I don't know. Would I love to see a little bit more designed runs with the quarterback, with a guy that is good on designed runs? Yes, absolutely. Brady Cook, good scrambler. When things broke down, he could get out of the pocket and make some things happen. But short of his little patented fake pitch, goal line dive play thing, not a good designed runner. Prabula has shown that he can do that better. So
yeah,
interested to see what they come up with. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm not sure they yet know what that's going to look like, but they've got 6 months to figure it out.
Yeah. And this isn't like a Tim Tebow situation. This isn't a fullback playing quarterback. Like he's 6'2", 207. That's basically, one slice of emos away from being Brady Cook, almost to the pound. So this is not a guy who's going to run it 15 times and take the punishment and be just fine. This is a guy you kind of have to protect. You don't want him to take those hits over and over again. So I don't know. And so here's the thing. How does the arm translate? We need to see a full season of that because we have not seen it yet. How does his endurance, his athleticism, his sustainability, his ability to get injured, how does that hold up over a full 12-game season? We haven't really seen it yet. He's not been asked to do that. He has been asked to come in as a change of pace. When you go from second chair to first, you don't know how that's going to look like. So I want to see how he throws it. I want to see how he takes the punishment. That's really it. And then how the offense gets designed around him and all that stuff. Okay. But those are going to be your questions about him. And you're not really going to get that answered by going to Pine. You're not really going to get that answer going to Horn because, again, those guys also have not had full seasons in the SEC with Missouri. It's kind of up to them. Figure out who's going to be the best. Hopefully this staff, if you trust them to pick the right guy, they will. But those are the questions that you have to ask, and that's what you need to look to find answered. And you just don't know. You don't know. I will say I'm excited. I also say I don't know. And that's exciting on its own because, again, he can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, we've known what we were going to get from Brady Cook for the last 3 years, or at least from the quarterback position for the last, 2+ years. We didn't really know coming into Cook's first year starting what exactly that was going to look like. But once we saw it on the field, we got a pretty good idea quick about what that offense was going to look like. This is the first time that we don't know. There's just a big kind of question mark since Drinkwitz's first season when we really just had no idea because we hadn't seen him coach Mizzou yet. And we had Connor Bazelak and the other guy, which I'm forgetting his name, the transfer from TCU, who was actually who was the starter to start. Yeah, to start Robinson. So we didn't really know what we were going to get then. And this is the next time we've had a lot of big question marks. So I think it's an exciting question mark. It's not a dread related worry or unknown. It's more of an excited unknown. Because if Pribula isn't the guy, if he can't do it, it's not like they're completely devoid. I mean, they've got Drew Pine, who is he your first choice? No, but he can win a game for you. He beat Oklahoma for you, found a way. Sam Horn, another big question mark. We just don't know what he's going to be. Could he come in this spring finally healthy again and just blow the doors off? Maybe. Don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not. But you don't know. He could. So he's had a long time to learn the offense, even if he hasn't been able to do it on the field. So we just don't know. But it's an exciting don't know, not a worried don't know yet.
And you got options. That's the best part. You got options. All right. Let's talk about this bowl game. Music City Bowl, December 30th. Going up against Iowa. I say Iowa football. What's the first thing that comes to your head? That's good. That's good.
Gross.
With the face. Yeah. Imagine for 26 years, I think is what it is. Kirk Ferentz has been there for, since I've been in 6th grade. So it's a long time. 26th year, 204 and 123 is his overall record. So it's a lot. And Mizzou goes up against him at 1:30 p.m. This is not a marquee matchup. I'll just say it. It's not. I was looking through all the stats and then kind of breaking down Iowa, and this is just offensive ineptitude paired with the most boring, effective defense of all time. So I don't think you're going to be entertained. I don't think you're going to have any fun. I think the first one to score 10 is probably going to win. And get excited. Yay!
You're gonna feel dirty and glad that the game is over, no matter who wins. You watch it and hope Thankfully, it won't be a long game. I think it will be a pretty short game because both teams like to run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Neither team throws the ball particularly effectively. There'll be a lot of punts on
Mhm.
both sides.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to who turns the ball over and gives a short field. A lot, honestly, a lot like the Oklahoma game. Now that one kind of got crazy at the end. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily expect this game to get crazy at the end, but I could see the first 3 quarters of the game going very similarly as the Oklahoma game. Very good defenses, poor, at least on Iowa's side, very poor offense, especially the fact that their very good running back has declared for the NFL
Mhm.
in Caleb Johnson, 1,500 yards, very good running back, will not be playing. Their starting quarterback to start the year, Cade McNamara, has transferred out for like the third time. Not sure where he's expecting to go to do any better. So their second string quarterback will be playing. He has all of 340 passing yards on the season. Um, so yeah, I'm not worried about slowing the Iowa offense down. I think this game comes down to, as I said, who's going to screw up, who's going to have the fumble returned for a touchdown on the opponent's 10-yard line, or who is going to down a punt at the 1 yard line and give up a safety or a silly fumble. That's how Iowa wins games, and they do it weirdly. It's almost like witchcraft how they do it. Somehow they lure other teams into uh, fair catching a punt on the 3 and then giving up a safety or fumbling the ball inexplicably, doing something stupid. So thankfully, Mizzou has proven on the offensive end that they are not apt to do a lot of stupid stuff. They're not going to give you the ball. They're not going to turn it over often. Brady Cook isn't going to throw a lot of any stupid interceptions. That's the thing he has not done at all this season, is throw stupid interceptions.
Mhm.
And that's what Iowa relies on. I mean, that's the only way that they win games. They do it somehow really well. Don't know how. It's a hex or a witchcraft or something. So as long as Mizzou plays as they have all year, they're going to win the game. But they haven't played a weird team, like awful team like this, just gross team. It's a different style, so you never know what's what's going to happen until they actually get out there.
I mean, the you get into the situation where you're so frustrated. So these low scoring games, you get so frustrated. Like, man, I just got to make one play, and then we'll win this stupid thing. And so, yeah, that's when you start getting, I'll say, aggressive, generously, get risky, right? And you're like, well, I gotta,
Impatient. You cannot
yeah,
get impatient against this Iowa team
I
because
gotta try something. And he's like, no, you don't have to. But that's, to your point, that's how they frustrate you into making a very silly, risky choice, um, or not thinking as hard as you should, and then you screw up, and then they win. But this Iowa defense has got, or sorry, the Iowa offense, I should say. Let me get that right. Um, they they have some of the lowest plays per game in the country. They're 130th in offensive plays per country per play yard plays per game in the country. There we go. Less than 60 a game. And Missouri's defense loves that stuff, right? Like the fewer plays Mizzou's defense is on the game, the better off they are, right? And so Missouri's offense likes to just go slow and hold on to the ball. Now Iowa's defense is very used to that too. They've experienced a ton of plays this year, but it's also their better unit. So it's give and take. The thing that surprised me, the Iowa defense is not very good at stopping the run this year, and that's generally when you think Iowa, you think very good defense stops the run. And that's not the case. So that's music to my ears because that's all Missouri really wants to do is just run the ball and get the heck out of there. Iowa's pass offense, or sorry, I'm just going to do this all day. Their pass defense is very good, as you would expect, but their run defense is not. So they give up 4 yards per run at a 53% clip. Success rates, power success rates, stuff rates are not very good. So Mizzou needs to run the ball, and they need to stay ahead in the chains because once you get into blitz downs, that's when Iowa really thrives and knocks you out. But you mentioned the quarterback, right? Their starting quarterback, Cade McNamara, is gone. His backup, Jackson Stratton, is gone. So it's this Brendan kid who is a pretty decent runner in his own right. Of the quarterbacks, he has rushed the most, 30 times for 172 yards. But even if you combine Kamari Moulton, I think it's Jason Patterson, and then Brendan Sullivan, they are still half the carries that Caleb Johnson had on the year and like a third of the yards. So they leaned on Caleb Johnson a lot, and he's not there. Their leading receiver is Jacob Gill, who has only 46 targets on the year. And their second leading receiver is a tight end named Luke Lachey, who's got 38. This is an offense that doesn't go anywhere. It's a defense that wants to play field position and win. It's looking in a mirror. It's just Iowa's a more extreme version of Missouri, who's been doing it for 26 years. Yeah, 1st to 10, man. I'm not. I don't want to downplay the last Missouri game because like I want to see these guys go out in style. It's not getting me excited, and I don't know what to do about it.
It'll be a much less sexy version of last year's Cotton Bowl in terms of how this game is going to play out.
Yeah.
Ohio State had very good defense, offense that was diminished because of opt-outs / transfers. And I think that Drinkwitz, if he's smart, will point to that game and say, look how we played in this game. We just kept chopping wood, didn't do anything stupid. Eventually we finally hit a big shot to Marquise Johnson, broke through, got a touchdown, softened him up a little bit, and one more drive, touchdown, we won 14-3. If they play it that way, they're going to win this game. It's the muffing a punt or the really dumb interception or the weird fumble. That's where they're gonna where Iowa's gonna get you, because that's the only way they get you. Somehow, as I said, they've done it 8 times this year, and they do it every year. But as long as they don't do anything stupid, just play the game that they've played just about every game this season. Play that same way. They'll get out of there with a victory. We'll all have to wash our hands afterward, be glad it's over with, move on with our lives, thank Brady Cook for his service, and and get out of there not having fun. I think the winner will score more than 10 points, but I agree that the loser will not score 10 points. So whoever breaks that 10-point barrier first is going to win.
If Iowa was at full strength, I probably would have picked them to win like 17-10, right? Something like that. I know Iowa's not a quarterback reliant offense, so that, whatever. But they are a running back reliant offense, and they're playing their backups who haven't seen much action. I feel a little bit better about Missouri's chances here. Again, if this was like the week right after Arkansas, probably an Iowa win. No, I'm not so sure. I really think this is kind of 50-50. I'm going to stick with 17-10.
Yeah.
I'm floating towards Mizzou. I don't know. How do you see this?
I will caution you, Mizzou has seen an Iowa team in a bowl game playing their 3rd string running back.
Yeah.
Who has Marcus Coker, if you did remember, ran for 250 odd yards in the 2010 Insight Bowl. He didn't even finish his career at Iowa. This is a guy that finished his career at Stony Brook, by the way. And that guy ran for 250 yards. So just the fact that Iowa's running out a 2nd or 3rd string running back doesn't mean anything when it comes to Mizzou playing Mizzou. Mizzou has been known historically to give up some stupid numbers to 3rd string fullbacks and running backs. That said, that 17-10 number sounds pretty good to me. I think we like field goals. I'm going to go 20-10. Mizzou's going to win 20-10 with 2 field goals. Iowa will hit one weird 35-yard pass play that'll get them in position to score a touchdown at some point in the game. And Mizzou will win. I wouldn't call it comfortably, because nothing is comfortable about playing Iowa. But I don't think at the end of the game we'll be like sweating it out, like, oh God, there's no way we can stop Iowa going 80 yards with 2 minutes left to try to tie the game or whatever. So it won't be fun, but Mizzou will win.
Yeah. 10 wins. 10 wins is 10 wins. That's always a good thing. You don't see these all that often. So I am pro Mizzou win this game. I care about them winning this game. I just
there is something to play for. I won't say a lot to play for. There is something to play for. Getting 10 wins. Getting 10 wins, sending Brady Cook off in the sunset with one final win. The rest of the seniors that are not opting out, choosing to play: Theo Weiss, Johnny Walker Jr., Tristan Newson, Christian Williams, sending the Joseph Charleston, sending all those guys off with a win. So there are things to play for, things to root for, besides just always wanting the Tigers to win, which I'm never going to not want to do that.
Yeah. And we'll cover it. We'll come with you at instant reactions and analysis and discussions about it. But that's not today, because that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. And leave a comment or rate list. You'll have all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt and H.E. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. Of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. And of course, if you want to mess around with Blue Sky, a bunch of us are over there too. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.